Ted and Charity Bradshaw here. Coming from our very quiet house, we're excited because the kids are at grandma's and we are relaxing. We're able to do this video with quiet and peace and togetherness. And so I know that you guys know about they're doing a series called In These Turbulent Times, What Does the Bible Say About? And we were asked to talk about what does the Bible say about marriage in turbulent times. And I would say it doesn't necessarily get that specific, but we want to give you some of our thoughts about what we're trying to do and how we feel like the Bible is saying this is how we as a team, as a unit, approach what's going on right now to benefit our home, to benefit our community, those kinds of things. So the first point that we want to talk about is know that you have, as a couple, you have a common enemy, and that you guys, each other, are not the enemy. This can be really hard to remember when tension is high, and right now in this turbulent time, that's probably even an understatement, there's a lot of external pressure. There is financial pressure, there is emotional pressure, there is relational pressure, there is work pressure, there is I don't know if you're like me, but all of a sudden now my kids are home, and like, what do I do with 4 kids? It's a lot of different noise level, not even just physical noise, but just the noise inside. And so sometimes it's easy to take that against and take it out on each other. But we have to remember that right now, he and I, and you and your spouse, have a common enemy, and that is our adversary, Satan. And so during these times, remember that you have that common enemy, and it's not your spouse. So we want to read Ephesians 6:12.
Okay, it says, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms.
Okay, so we now know, this is what the Bible is saying, okay? We're not warring against each other. And it's very important in this time to not make your spouse the enemy. That is a waste of your energy. It's a waste of your resources that you have. Because if you continually point your emotional energy or your battle against your spouse, it's going to wear you two down. And I'm sure you guys are not surprised by the fact that Googling how to get a divorce has risen astronomically during this time. People are very scared, they're very afraid, and they're taking it out on each other instead of coming together during this time, which I know is counterintuitive because we often love to just use our spouse as the receptacle of our frustrations and things like that, but this is not the time. So that number one, know you have a common enemy and it's not your spouse. Number two, this is so important, is that we have an individual responsibility in this time to come to face each day prepared, to face each day dressed out in the armor of God. And so Ted, read the next verse.
It says, therefore put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand.
Everything stand, yes.
And everything stand.
So whenever we were early on in our marriage, I put an unfair amount of responsibility of our marital spirituality, of our marital, Bible reading and even prayer on Ted. I leaned on him to be all of that for me. I wanted him to be our spiritual leader, and really what that kind of was is I want you to be the spiritual. Like, I'll just ride on your coattails, because I didn't have at that time a relationship with God that I could stand on. I was still coming out of a lot of stuff with just like sadness and just from my parents' divorce and stuff like that. And so I was like, Ted, I need you to kind of be my everything. And he's not made for that. He's not cut out for that. It's not his job. And so then I was like, Ted, you're letting me down. And really, Ted was not letting me down. I did not come into our relationship on a daily basis prepared spiritually. So the next section of verses talks about all of the things that are our individual responsibility of how to come into every day that we face. The armor talks about everything from head to toe, because all of us have to be protected. We have to protect ourselves with the shield of faith. Hello. I mean, right now we are, like, a lot of us are letting everything through, and it's causing a lot of fear, it's causing a lot of panic, it's causing a lot of distress, unnecessary stress, because we're not applying all of these pieces of the armor that God tells us are daily our responsibility to take up upon ourselves. And I don't know if this is your story, but for me, I'm thankful that now I don't put that pressure on Ted to be, okay, I need you to be like God in our relationship. God for our whole family. That's not good for our kids. It's not good for me. And so now it's my responsibility, and maybe it's your responsibility, to not completely lean on your spouse to be the spiritual leader of your home, that you are co-leaders, co-laborers in this. And again, you have that common enemy. So that's number 2. And so I would encourage you to read through verse 13 through 18 of Ephesians 6, so you can find out all the stuff that you're supposed to come prepared with every day into this situation. And this will help you show up as a better spouse. Believe me, it'll help you show up as a better spouse. Number 3, this is one of my favorites. Guard your climate. Husbands and wives, the climate of your home is something that you can control. You have the authority over the climate of your house, over the environment within your home. And you have the ability to set that temperature and to change it into any direction you want to. You can set it for fear. You can set it for faith. You can set it for frustration. You can set it for peace. All of those things are within your control. Isn't that amazing to know? Because you feel like everything is out of control, but guess what? You have control. You have the ability to change and to set the environmental tone of your home.
And if you're struggling in that area, one of the things that we do in our house, if we get to a point where we notice everybody's frustrated, turn on your Pandora to a worship station, and I guarantee you, everything is going to take a deep breath and calm down.
It is really hard to argue.
Worship music going.
It's hard to argue. It's hard for the kids to argue with praise and worship music on. It's kind of like our kryptonite for our home. Is we'll turn that on and just kind of like let it ride, let it roll, and you won't be surprised, honestly. You'll be amazed and you'll be thankful at how that, just even that one little shift affects the climate of your home. But you have to know also what you allow in via the news, via your social media, via television, via movies. All those kinds of things affect the climate. They affect your mental and emotional state. So be aware, be mindful of what you're allowing in and what, more importantly, you're not allowing in right now. If you are getting hours and hours of social media feed, of news feed, you're going to be sad. You're going to be panicked. You're going to be like confused because you've got some friends who are like, you know, rah, like on one side, and some friends who are like, oh, on the other side, and you're like, I don't know how to feel. Exactly, you don't, because you're trying to figure out for other people how to feel, when really God says you have a sound mind. You have this ability to decide. And so that's something to be encouraged with. And the last thing I want to talk about, and this is something I don't know if you guys know, but we wrote a book together, Staying I Do. So fun. And this is available on Amazon or on our website, tedandsharity.com, or on my website, charitybradshaw.com. But we talk about meeting each other's actual needs, not meeting our needs to our spouse. We talk about meeting each other's needs. And so during this time, while you may have more or less time, either way, you know, he's an essential worker at the hospital. I run a business, and I got 4 kids now that he's so essential. Our workload did not decrease, so now it's even more important that we nurture each other's needs, nurture the health of our relationship through the needs. Do you have something you want to say about that? Or are you good?
Yes, one of the things I want to say is just whenever we're talking about making sure you're nurturing your spouse's needs, if I love touch and I'm just touching on my wife, that's not really meeting her needs if she's not a touch person. You know, if she needs words of affirmation and quality time, then that's what you need to sow into your spouse. So taking the time to discover what does your spouse get rejuvenated from. They may not even understand what their needs are, but you can, you know, go through those different things of the love languages, you know, the touch, the words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service. What's this one? Gifts. So, yeah, maybe it's, you know, your husband surprising you with flowers really lights you up, you know. Then remind him that, you know, I need...
Hey, sorry we got cut off real quick. What we were talking about, though, was just making sure that your spouse's needs are met. And this is something that I really love that we went into depth into this in the book, because sometimes we don't even know how to ask for what we need, or we're embarrassed to ask because it seems so basic and it seems so like I should be more mature than to need that, or I shouldn't have to need that, when really we are denying ourselves the gifts of the things that we actually need. And so I encourage you, get our book, Staying I Do, read the chapter on how to ask for what you need. That way you can communicate. And the biggest thing is during this time is remember you're a team. Remember you're together. Remember this is the important stuff. You know, whenever it feels like, you know, certain things try to rise in importance, you have to remember this is the priority. God, husband, children. It goes in that order, and if it gets out of order, it feels like you cannot conquer anything because you've lost your teammate.
Yes, that's right. And remember that, you know, you have to focus on yourself, like we were talking about, making sure yourself is in it, you're taking care of yourself, and you're in a healthy place to be able to fully love your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's something neglected in you, they're not going to get the full, you know, it's like you're fighting next to someone who doesn't have a weapon. So just make sure that you're recharged, you know, you're doing things to address your needs. Your spouse is there to help you. You are a team. You are, you know, battle mates, you know. You know, the two together send 10,000 to flight, remember?
So what we're going to do, we want to pray for you guys today and pray for all the marriages and even our marriage. I mean, you know, nobody is necessarily bulletproof at this point, and we recognize that, and we take that very seriously, that we have to continue to build our marriage. Anniversaries don't equal intimacy or contentment or happiness.
Right.
You have to continually nurture those things and grow those things. So it doesn't matter if you've been married, you know, a month, 10 years, 25 years, 37 years. It doesn't matter. You got to keep nurturing this. This is something that requires a lot of investment but yields so much return. So let's pray. Good.
Father, we just thank you right now. We thank you for all of these people that are going to be watching this video. We ask that you strengthen marriages during this time, Father. Whenever all the pressure is external, help our light internal be able to cast out all this darkness. So we just thank you right now for instilling hope and instilling victory. Father, remind us of those little victories so we can keep pressing on to the fight.
And God, I thank you that your perfect love casts out all fear. So we ask for right now you to just minister your love to these homes, to these families, to these women, even to marriages where there's not an equal interest in staying together or in working together. God, I ask that you minister to the other spouse and begin to drop your love into there, because we know that we can't change each other. Only you can change us, God. And I ask right now that you just begin to pour your love, your perfect love in there, so that any kind of fear or frustration or that can just begin to melt away, God. And I ask for your divine protection, provision, and all those things over these women. And I ask for a boldness as they raise their voices, as they may be stepping into ministry, those kinds of things, Lord, that you help them raise their voice and raise the message that you've put on their heart. In Jesus' name, amen. We love you guys. We hope this helped you, and have a great day.